Welcome back to Tech Talks from Commercial Baking. I'm your host, Joni Spencer. In this episode, sponsored by FANUC, I am speaking with Wes Garrett, Executive Director of Global Accounts, and we are talking about the uses and benefits of robotic technology. Hi, Wes. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Hey, Joni, thanks for having me.
So, I love this topic. There's just constantly so much to uncover with robotics. And I think one of the first things that comes to mind is how it relates to labor. This is something that robotics and labor kind of go hand in hand, especially just in automation in general. So, what would you say are some of the biggest labor challenges that you're seeing in bakery manufacturing? And how are you seeing bakers looking to automation and robotics as a solution?
Absolutely. So, this labor challenge really stemmed back from the beginning of the pandemic. A lot of that workforce at that time, especially the baby boomers, they decided to exit early, right? So they take early retirement. They just didn't really want to be in the workforce anymore, being working close in around other people. That, along with the younger generation workforce, has not been that interested in getting into manufacturing. So what that's done is left us a really tight labor market. The next thing there with the labor is the retention. There's a lot of poaching going on out in the marketplace. Manufacturers are concerned with investing a lot of training into new employees as they don't know how long they're going to stay. So they want them to be able to have, equipment that's very simple, quick to train on, quick to adapt with. And then safety, right? So that labor, we need to keep them safe. Work loss claims are very high. So manufacturers are absolutely looking to automation to help them grow their business, right? So you need that extra manufacturing capacity, and automation is going to allow them to do that. And so they're not necessarily looking to replace their labor. They're looking to supplement that labor, right? So they're able to move that labor from a dull, dirty, dangerous job into a more higher value add. Or I've got some customers where they're moving this labor to other lines, so they may have other lines that are just idle today. They don't have enough labor force to run those. So they move them to those other areas.
You know, I think one of my favorite things that I hear when bakery manufacturers incorporate automation and robotics into their bakery is that it almost opens up new opportunities for people to do other jobs that they might not have been physically capable of doing before, because it makes it so much easier. And those people working on the lines, I know they get scared when they hear that automation is coming in. They're worried about, does this mean that my job's going to get replaced? And then they get really excited when they find out their job's easier, or they can learn a new skill, or even move somewhere else into the bakery. And that always makes me really excited to see how that the technology just opens up new doors for laborers in so many different ways.
Absolutely. That is very true. I've been able to have firsthand experience with talking to some of the laborers where, initially they're concerned, like you said, about that, what happens when automation is brought in, but they love that automation doing that heavy lifting for them. Now
Yeah.
they're more or less, they're bringing product to the line, and that line just does it for them, right? It's doing that palletizing, doing that packing, or wherever it may be, and they can just simply monitor it, right? Make
Yeah.
sure it stays running.
Yeah. Okay. So robotic automation, this is high tech, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's hard to adopt. And I think that's another place, especially with bakery, when it is such a traditional type of industry. What are some aspects about your machines in particular that can provide ease of use and sort of help bakers ease into it a little quicker than they might expect?
Yeah. So that trepidation that you're talking about is absolutely in the workforce. And I work with a lot of bakers today that, they are concerned about that adoption. And, their automation really is, it's conveyance, it's drives, it's maybe some sensors, or maybe some 2 or 3 axes machines. They've learned how to maintain that as well as run it, right? So it's relatively simple machinery. That high tech piece is actually making it simpler. So some of the things that are going to that high tech are things, intelligence like vision, advanced sensing technology, AI even. All this is making things simpler and doing a lot of that work for the manufacturer. So all that heavy lifting is being done by the technology, making any updates very simple. So to change a recipe or to update one or maybe add a new one is very simple. The operators are not in there coding. They're very simply adding and manipulating new setups. So they've got graphical user HMIs similar to your phone or your tablet. So if you can run those, you can typically run these solutions. Ease of use is priority number one when it comes to these automation solutions from system integrators. So that's what they're thinking first, right? It has to be simple. Simple as operating an oven, right? So bakers today are operating ovens, and the typical task there would be, start, stop, reset, recipe change, those types of things. It's the same thing with a piece of automation.
I remember we were talking a couple of weeks ago, and you said like with your machines, if you could turn on an oven, you can run this technology. And I thought that was just a great comparison there. Another thing that I think comes up when bakers are looking to get into robotic automation is the question around the ROI. And that does kind of make people a little nervous. Like, when am I going to see an ROI on this? So I'd love to hear from you. Like, what are the practical applications that can really have business impact with these machines?
For sure. So there's a number of applications that are in and around a bakery, but some of the more common ones are palletizing, as well as panhandling and cutting. So like cutting of cakes or bread, that sort of thing. System integrators are developing standard solutions around this. And because it's pre-engineered, that cost is going to come down. So they're not re-engineering a solution for every manufacturer out there. They can reuse that solution. The other thing that it does is it lowers the lead times as well as the installation time. Installation is a very high cost to a lot of systems. And when these solutions go in typically a day, it really cuts that cost down. So one of the main applications there is palletizing ultimately, and all manufacturers have palletizing. And most of that today is being done by a person, still by hand, surprisingly enough. Now, the manufacturers that are running 2 to 3 shifts today are typically seeing an ROI about 1 to 2 years, which for most manufacturers, if they can get an ROI under 2 years, it's a slam dunk. So these solutions are readily available in lead times that are as short as 8 to 10 weeks.
Oh,
So
wow.
there's really good practical solutions out there to get started with.
If this is helping with lead time, that's like the magic combination right there, I think. Do you have any sort of real world examples that you might be able to share?
Yeah, actually, I do. There was a large baker that their challenges were very similar to what we've been talking about: labor, labor retention, as well as safety. They found this solution and were able to implement that. And then they're palletizing open top cases. So because they're open top cases, they can't use vacuum on them. So they're actually utilizing a clamp style tool, and it's got a really great user interface. So they can create new loads. So down the road, say they have new products in new case sizes, they can simply go into this user interface and change the length, width, and height of a box. And then you can use drag and drop type programming to create that layer that they would need to have for their new load. The beauty of that is they don't have to rely on a system integrator down that road for additional cost incurring, right? They can actually do that on their own and maintain that and really adopt that solution.
And that's something that I'm hearing a lot more of lately, that automating at the end of the line used to not go hand in hand with flexibility. And I'm hearing more and more that these automated solutions are coming with flexibility and the ability to change their packaging sizes when that need arises. So that's very exciting.
Yeah, when it comes to robotics, flexibility should be right at the top of your mind. And they're just so flexible in comparison to conventional machinery. You can just simply change a tool a lot of times, or tools can handle multiple products. And many times it's just a matter of changing a recipe. So there's no actual physical hardware change.
That's awesome. Okay. So Wes, this leaves me with just one question, and that is, what is the best way for a baker to get in touch and learn more about FANUC solutions?
Absolutely. So FANUCamerica.com is a great place to start. That's our website. And within that, we have a food and bev page. On that web page, you're going to find a number of examples, so video examples, a number of our packaging products. Absolutely take a look at that and reach out. Let us know what we can do to help.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Wes. This was so interesting. And I just love hearing about robotics and how new types of automation can really help bakers to kind of roll with these punches with everything they have going on with all of these labor challenges. So thanks so much for your time and the information about all of FANUC Solutions.
Absolutely. Thanks for the opportunity, Jody.